The Tigray region in Ethiopia has some of the most fascinating and untold stories in all of Africa, and they play out in an ancient, almost biblical landscape. My name is Neil Thomas and I am a photographer. I first went to Tigray some 6 years ago, inspired by some pictures I had seen. And as I went from one site to the next, I could hardly believe what I was witnessing. These magnificently placed and obscure churches were built prior to the 16th century. Some date as far back as 1700 years ago, and most are still in active use today. When you go to see a mass or a festival, these remarkable rock edifices seem to have witnessed scenes straight out of the Bible for almost 1,000 years. White-robed worshippers are seen chanting and swaying in prayer. This, one senses, is Christianity, much as it would have been practiced before the Vatican was built. The churches don't function primarily as tourist attractions, and I'm fairly sure many of them have gone unseen by foreigners. I found out from the literature that there are 153 recorded rock-hewn churches in Tigray, of which all but 26 are still in active use today. Each one of them is unique. Several house ancient paintings and sacred medieval artifacts, and all of them retain an aura of isolation and mystery that is fascinating and reminiscent of another time. During these trips I met priests and monks who lived in or around these churches and monasteries. Whenever I returned, I'd meet the same men over and over again. I soon discovered that most of them have lived high up in the mountains and have devoted their entire lives to these religious sanctuaries. But there is so little information about these churches and the men who look after them. Who built, or rather carved them? Where did that civilization get the skills to do it? And why were they so often built into relatively inaccessible cliff faces high up in the mountains? Most of the information I got back was based on the local oral traditions, and these anecdotal claims were often riddled with apparent inconsistencies. So this film was about my journey to discover the history of these churches and to learn about the men who take care of them.